Today, or now we're going to be talking about controlling the desires. Marwa versus al-hawa. So, whoever came to Friday's lecture will remember that, this is a struggle, this is a jihad, which literally means, of course, struggle. And in a sense, all of what we've been talking about today and we've been talking about over the weekend is jihad. It's a battle, a genuine, full-on battle against yourself. And it is not a battle that is any less important than physical battles. In fact, maybe if it's not as important, it may even be more important. Because there can never be success in any type of struggle unless you have achieved this inner struggle. So everything stems from it and everything comes from it. Okay. Let's talk about al-hawa. What is al-hawa? Usually we translate al-hawa as our desires, our passions. Okay? And it literally means fell down, or he fell down. Okay? And it's most often used by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, it's always used in the Quran in a blameworthy sense. So the Quran uses the term as the blameworthy inclination of yourself towards passions, towards desires, towards negative things. Okay. But as for him who fears standing before his Rabb and restrained himself from hawa, verily Jannah will be his abode. Surah Al-Naziyat, which is the 79th Surah, ayahs 40 to 41. So, the one who fears standing before Allah and restrained his hawa, his desires or her desires or passions, that person will go to Jannah. So, it's showing that restraining one's desires and these hawa is very essential in order to be successful on the last day. And it's also called al-hawa because it throws down its follower. The person who follows al-hawa is thrown down and humiliated and disgraced by it. But what is the hawa? What is the nature of al-hawa? In fact, in reality, al-hawa is a reflex response for our collective and individual self-preservation. It's what I suppose scientists might refer to as a sort of genetic, inbuilt genetic need to protect the individual and protect the species. But from, of course, the Islamic perspective, it is those qualities that we need that are essential for our preservation. So without the hawa, without these inclinations, we wouldn't eat, we wouldn't drink, we wouldn't procreate. So al-hawa, in fact, are those urges that are at a very base level essential for our existence as individuals and indeed collectively as humanity. But in reality, what we find is, and to give an example, al-hawa instigates what we want in the same way as anger averts from what hurts. Why do we get angry? The emotion of anger actually is not necessarily negative. The emotion of anger can have a positive outcome, and it's there for a reason. Anger is there for a reason because anger prevents us and motivates us to keep away from things that harm us and hurt us, and that's one of the reasons why anger is there. So the problem is not with al-hawa as such, and the problem is not with anger as such, but the real issue is that we cannot usually preserve the limits of these aspects. And because it's very rare that we preserve the limits, that we tend to exaggerate in them and we go over the bounds, but almost always al-hawa, or the desires, are actually referred to in a negative sense. Okay, we can also define it as ready pleasure without thinking about the outcome. Ready pleasure without thinking about the outcome. Marwa, what is this? Okay? It's religion and rationalism. Religion and rationalism. So these are the qualities that a human being has that is there to counterbalance al-hawa. We could say that it forbids a pleasure whose outcome will be painful and whose legacy will be sorrow and regret. Meaning, if we follow al-hawa, the consequences of that in reality are negative for us in this life and indeed in the next life as well. So al-Marwa, it opposes that, and that is really religion and rationalism. Imam Shafi'i said, and he considered this quality to be so important, if I knew that cold water would injure my marwa, I would not drink it. So this is something that is very important to preserve. What injures it, we should keep away from it. So this is the quality that we have that helps us to combat al-hawa. Now, mashallah, thank you to Ryan for this fantastic diagram which you've been working vigorously upon all morning. So in this diagram, what I'm trying to draw is the battle plan. Okay, what is going on? Okay, here we have the nafs. Okay, it's flashing. I could be playing this all day. Okay, we have the nafs. On the top, this is the self. And what do we have here? The heart, which is at the center of it, which we were talking about before. Now, on the positive side, do you notice how it goes from dark to light here? Okay? This is the light side. This is the good side. Okay? So what do we have? On the bad side, we have really just two things. Two things. Al-hawa and shaitan. Everyone, of course, has a jinn. An evil jinn. Every person has an evil jinn. And that evil jinn is encouraging them and tempting them towards evil. And what does this jinn, shaitan, use? He uses the al-hawa. In fact, that's all he has. On the positive side, we have aql. We have the intellect. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the intellect. And the intellect is to combat the desires. And whoever was there on Friday will remember we were talking about consciousness and about processing information and how if we train that consciousness through focused attention and so on and so forth, we can achieve our outcomes. We can even ignore the cravings for food, for example. And that's what we do in Ramadan, right? In Ramadan we feel hungry, we're fasting, we'll feel hungry, but we have an objective that we want to reach, which is we want to fast. So what do? We overcome that craving, and we are patient because we want to achieve an objective that is more important to us. So that's what our mind is doing, our consciousness, our intellect, right, is filtering that out, okay? And we also have the deen, okay, because the intellect in reality is not enough to combat shaitan and al-hawa. We need the deen, we need the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to do that. And that's not it. Allah is really stacking the favor for us on the side, on the good side, you know, you could say. Because we also have an angel. As we have a devil that is tempting us towards evil, we also have an angel that is encouraging us towards good. And then we have something else here called al-fitra. The fitra is the natural inclination. And generally, and Allah knows best, it is a positive force that encourages us and motivates us to recognize that Allah is one, that He is the Lord and the Provider, and that He alone should be worshipped. And it drives us also towards leading a life of goodness and submission to Allah.